confused and disjointed. I said that night, this is the most consequential presidential debate in history because it will result in one of the two candidates being removed from the ballot. That was exactly right. And following that debate, the Democrats recognized the collapse. They pulled out their knives and took out President Biden like Caesar on the Ides of March. For all of their strutting about, protesting that they support democracy, not a one of them gave a damn about democracy when they pulled Biden off the ballot and dropped Kamala Harris in without a single Democrat primary voter voting for him. And you know what? Not a single Democrat is here today because not a single one of them gives a damn about the fact that they lied to the American people for 4 years. They knew. Every one of them knew that Joe Biden was mentally not competent to do the job. The White House press secretary, she knew when she stood in front of the American people and lied over and over and over again, and they're not here because they can't defend themselves. It wasn't a surprise. For 4 years, the White House hid President Biden from Republican senators, would not let him meet with us. He served 40 years in this body. We all know him. And they deliberately lied. And by the way, Jake Tapper had a bombshell book exposing the incredible scandal that Biden's mental decline was covered up by Jake Tapper. There's a Yiddish word, chutzpah. And that truly is chutzpah. How dare we lie and cover up what we all knew? Now, I have been asked literally 1,000 times by Texans, who was running the country? And I'm going to give you the most terrifying answer. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And not a single Democrat here cares. The most telling proof of Biden's decline came with the signature of the president, the symbol of executive authority that was outsourced to a machine. Mr. Wold, you're a lawyer who served in the White House counsel's office. You understand the gravity of presidential action. Does the president's signature carry legal and constitutional weight under Article 2?
Yes.
Is the act of signing an executive order or signing a law or granting a pardon a delegable duty of the president?
So in that opinion in 2005 from OLC, they said essentially that an auto pen could be used by a subordinate, but the president's determination as to sign the document can never be delegated.
Can that authority be transferred to a staffer or a machine without the president's explicit authorization?
Never.
And if you look at the statistics are stunning. In 2021, President Biden issued 78 executive orders. None were signed with an auto pen. That first year of the presidency, Biden, I suppose, was relatively lucid, and 78 executive orders he signed by hand. The second year, however, we see the auto pen emerge. The first auto pen executive order was issued on July 15th, 2022. After that day, 100% of the executive orders issued in 2022 were signed by an auto pen. In 2023, Biden issued 24 executive orders. 16 were auto penned. In 2024, Biden issued 19. 14 were auto penned. In 2025, Biden issued 14 executive orders. Every single one was auto penned. Mr. Wald, let me ask you as a legal matter, if there's a law that's passed both houses of Congress and it goes to the White House, and a staffer auto pens signing that law without the president's authorization, is that law legally passed and signed into law?
No.
If an executive order is issued and a staffer auto pens it without the president's authorization, is that executive order legally binding?
No.
And if a pardon is issued from the President of the United States and a staffer auto pens it without the president's authorization, is that pardon legally binding?
No.
Under the Biden White House, the ceremonial song, Hail to the Chief, was effectively replaced with Hail to the Pen. And it was an outright assault on democracy. And every reporter covering this ought to ask, why doesn't a Democrat care? We heard about the moral responsibilities of a staffer. How about an elected senator who knows damn well that if we get into a war and Iran is preparing to fire a nuclear weapon at the United States, that the commander-in-chief is busy playing with his Jell-O and is not competent to defend ourselves? And every member of the cabinet, the chief of staff, the press secretary, and the members of Congress who lied about this on a daily basis with the press's complicity, they are all responsible for subverting democracy.
Senator Cornyn.
Senator Also Brooks.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much as well to all of our witnesses. I agree mostly with what Senator Kaine says, except I do not agree that I'm so happy to have a hearing after we were up until 2:30 last night. I don't know about that concept. Thank you as well to our ranking member for hosting today's hearing. I just want to say at the top that I really do fully support the concept of unlocking benefits and the promise of the American dream for all workers. I also agree with the concept that the way that we work is changing, and that we have to really leave room for that, that the way that people want to work is changing. The thing I disagree with is what is preventing workers from achieving the dream. So just in the past few months, we've seen this administration take repeated and unprecedented steps to attack the American worker and undermine federal worker protections. We've seen the firing, for example, of tens of thousands of federal workers who are my constituents without cause. We've seen the steamrolling of civil servant protections clearly in statute, and we've also seen the issuing of executive orders that eliminate collective bargaining rights across federal agencies. We've seen the gutting and politicizing of the Merit Systems Protection Board, the NLRB, and the EEOC. And so this administration has targeted collective bargaining agreements and agencies that afford workers due process. So today, this committee, I believe, is considering legislation that would yet again undermine the American worker. So, Mr. Driscoll, I have a question for you. The Senate just voted on a bill a few weeks ago that would kick millions of Americans off of their health insurance and increase costs for families. And now we're discussing a bill that would, I think, further erode patient protections and increase health care costs. So can you just talk about unions again and help to educate the public about the way the unions every day work to fight for real health benefits and lower health care costs for their members and their families?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Senator Also Brooks. Yeah, the reconciliation bill is going to have devastating effects at the state level. As Senator Kaine just referred to, the support for state exchanges, which are critical not just for workers, but for independent contractors to access health care, is going to be devastated. And in turn, those uninsured patients, because they will show up somewhere, they may not get their regular checkup, but they'll show up at the emergency room. And there's a bill to pay, and healthcare providers can't be doing that for free. They're going to look to other people with pockets, and that's going to be the insured plans that unions and their employers jointly designed to take care of that. So yeah, we're going to bear the burden of that cost.
And as you've mentioned, just kind of further building on that, the rising uncompensated care cost is something that's going to be really devastating to the whole system. And that, as well as the Republican reconciliation bill, will actually increase costs for working families with employment-based coverage. And can you just talk a bit more about how that costs? Because the whole theme is here that we are increasing costs for working people.
Correct. I note that the large agreement here today is the rising cost of health care and how pressing that is on families. And how we address that, I think we can agree on as a principle we should be getting. What we actually do to arrive at that is going to be the key difference. Expansion of plans that don't provide for employee input, the actual beneficiaries, fiduciary obligations. Union health plans actually have employee input into their design. That doesn't exist with some of these other health plans that are out there. I think we need to be careful in advancing a principle that at the same time should always preserve do no harm to the existing systems. And that's my concern with what this legislation could do.
And finally, with the last few seconds that I have, today's hearing is framed around benefits. But I think it's impossible to separate the conversation from the Trump administration's broader anti-worker agenda. And so I just want to ask you how the attacks on federal workers, because I don't think we can ever forget the way that our federal workers have been demonized. These are patriots. They are my constituents, many of whom have worked for decades under both Republican and Democratic. They don't care who the president is. They just work for the people. But how do those attacks and collective bargaining agreement threaten really all workers?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. These are public servants who've dedicated their lives to providing vital services. And if collective bargaining can be wiped out at the stroke of a pen or an executive action in the federal sector, I have every reason to believe that the same effort could happen for collective bargaining agreements for workers across this country.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and Mr. Ranking Member.
Hickenlooper just got in because they couldn't find my end of hearing notes. So, but what impeccable timing.
The past few weeks, we've seen some intense grilling of Biden officials, with Republicans demanding answers about potential conflicts of interest and shady dealings. It's a fiery spectacle, witnesses giving testimony, documents being scrutinized, and accusations of abuse of power. For those who've been following, it's not just about Hunter anymore, it's about transparency at the highest levels of government. While all eyes are on the Biden hearings, the Health Committee has been addressing another huge issue: independent workers. With the rise of gig economy jobs and more people working as freelancers, the committee is looking at how healthcare is being delivered to these workers who don't have the traditional employer-based benefits. There's a push for reform, particularly for access to affordable health care, as the current system leaves millions in the lurch. So, what's the connection here? On the surface, they seem worlds apart, but both conversations boil down to trust in institutions and accountability. Whether it's the White House under scrutiny for its potential cover-up, or lawmakers trying to fix the healthcare system for millions of independent contractors, Americans are asking for better transparency and solutions that actually work. Want to hear from you. Do you think these hearings are more political theater, or are we finally going to see real consequences and reform? And what do you think about the push for better health care for independent workers? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.